So we've got a panel of three local experts. We've got Colleen May from UCAN. She's the Director of Health and Wellness. We've got Jeanne Wright, the Director of Douglas County Senior Services, and Susan Martin, who is the Executive Director of the Reedsport Collective. So they're here today. Thank you all for joining us. And they're going to talk a little bit about food access. I'm going to ask all three of them. The first question, which is going to be, please share what your organization is doing to provide food and meals to local Douglas County residents. So I'll start with, maybe start with Colleen.
Yeah, hi. So the UCAN Food Bank is hosting various food drives throughout the county right now to increase the amount of food that we have to get more food out to the pantries. So that's something we've really been working on. We also did receive some funding from the state through Oregon Food Bank to increase food purchases that way through the Oregon Food Bank, which supplies most of the food that we receive here at the food bank.
Great. And can you talk, Colleen, talk a little bit about maybe food pantry hours or where people,
Yeah, well, if you go on ucancap.org, there is a list of all the food pantries throughout the county and their hours. They're all very different and vary. So I didn't pull one up in front of me, but so we do have those already listed on the UCAN Cap website.
Excellent. Thank you, Colleen. Susan, you want to go next? Tell us a little bit about food accessibility and where folks can get in Reedsport. Oh, you're on mute still.
I'd like to be quiet, I guess. That's unusual for me. So we serve Reedsport, Gardner, Winchester Bay. So county line to county line over here in coastal Douglas, inland to Scottsburg, which many people think where the Speedy Mart is Scottsburg, but Scottsburg is the post office down around the corner. And so that's Green Acres out there with the Speedy Mart. So we serve out to Green Acres, but most people know that as Scottsburg. We've seen a huge increase in numbers over September to October. And we have not even calculated the impact yet that the food stamp delay had in our area, other than we were super busy. So we had the opportunity to preload, is what we're calling it, some purchases, preparing for what we felt was going to be a drastic change in the charitable food supply. And so we have been making some local retail food purchases, which is not the way we wanted to go, but it is the only way right now to make sure that we have ample food in the pantry. Critical need met by the governor releasing those funds to the food bank. So we're looking for those to come through and really help support us. We're going to really rely on those dollars coming through, and hopefully the governor will do it again, because if you do the numbers of the number of food banks and the number of pantries, it's not, 5 million is not a lot of money, even with the buying power that the food bank has. So we have really been struggling since January of being able to get enough food into the pantry. We have about 40% of the food that we had this time last year. We get a majority, I would say 99% of our food from our local food bank. The rest we get from our local vendors through our Fresh Alliance program, McKay's and Safeway that's here. We have a few local food producers that actually donate directly to the pantry that helps us get food in. But it's the biggest struggle, and foundations are not funding pantries right now. So we have, other than Roundhouse, so if any of your organizations are looking for food funding, Roundhouse, I think they closed it, but I also heard that they extended it. Okay, Colleen's shaking her head, yes. Extended a $6,000 grant. It's a very easy application. I think it's only one question, and you would receive $6,000 to be able to purchase local foods. But they also understand right now that that's a difficulty as well. because it's the wrong season to be buying from farmers and such. But it's been a real struggle for us. We've talked to our pantry clients and asked them how they are adapting to the lower amounts of food. And so they take more and or eating things that they typically wouldn't eat. And especially after Erin's presentation, the amount of produce that's been reduced in our pantry has been heartbreaking, and it's really hard for staff and volunteers. You talked a little bit about food as medicine with the mental health piece. It's very hard when all that there is rice and beans and maybe some mac and cheese. Where are those good foods that Erin was talking about in our pantries? They're few and far between right now. And last year we had a grant from Trillium, and we were able to purchase produce every week. And this year, Trillium cut our funding completely. And so we haven't been able to make those purchases. So it's been a real challenge for us to keep food in the pantry and healthy foods. We set up our pantry like Choose My Plate, where half of the pantry is fruit and vegetables, the other half is grain and proteins. That's been a challenge to keep up. We've got way more grains than we do of any of the other foods. Frozen protein is another piece that has drastically declined, that people need. Yeah, I always think immediately that you need the protein for your anemia. At least that's why I need to eat it, to keep up with my anemia. So we feel like we're a front line for the health in the community. And when we do make those purchases, we purchase healthy foods. I'm thrilled to hear, Erin, you said celery was an important food, because that's one of the food purchases we've been buying retail is celery, to have that in the pantry. So wrapping this whole answer up is we are struggling to provide the foods that Erin is recommending for our health. And we want to be that connection in the community to keep our community healthy with the most vulnerable. Senior and children need those healthy foods especially. And so we are working hard to get back to where we were and being able to provide ample amounts of those items.
Great, thanks, Susan. And we'll come back with my second question about, possibly opportunities for people to donate some of those foods or funding to get that food. And I will do a shout out to Erin. So as Erin was preparing her slides and her content, we also looked at what are typical things in our food pantries across the county. And so that's where some of those more budget friendly as well as fresh produce things came from. So that was great. So yeah, we'll come back to what we can all do individually to help support the work that you're doing, Susan and Colleen. But let's hear from Jeanne. I'd love to hear from you, Jeanne, about senior services and some of the opportunities for food and meals for our seniors in the county.
Absolutely. My name is Jeanne Wright. I'm the director of Douglas County Senior Services. And we have a Douglas County meal program for adults age 60 plus and their spouses. Some of these programs are what's known as a congregate meal site, which is in a community dining situation. Some of the sites that we have for that is in the Winston area, we have one. In Riddle, we have one. Glendale, we have one. Glide, we have one. Sutherland, we have one. In Yoncalla and Reedsport, we have one. The other type of meal program we have is called home delivered meal program, which this is for individuals that for older adults that may be coming out of the dining or out of the hospital and need recovery at home and need that good nutrition to help their healing process. And we provide a case manager that goes out and does an intake for those individuals. And then it also helps them with other services or community services, referrals to community services to help them as well. There's a thing to be said of as folks eat their meal, just to be socially interacting, is really, really important. And so that's why we have the congregate meals. It's a way to get together and visit and enjoy your meal together. So these meals are start serving at 11:45 on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays in the congregate meal sites. We do home delivers a couple of days a week, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we do have some other meals that we can provide them for other days of the week if we need that as well. Last year we had volunteers that drove 55,000 miles to deliver meals last year. Our own staff drove over 26,000 miles to deliver meals. We served last year about 84,000 meals. So it's a considerable amount for our older adult population. There's a suggested donation of $3.50, but it's not required in order to have a meal if someone needs a meal to eat. The only criteria is age 60 years of age. So.
Great. Thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate that. And just so everyone's tracking, we're putting the websites of all three of these organizations in the chat. So that's where you can find out more information about where those meal sites are, hours, menus, as well as the food pantry hours and opportunities there too. Great. Well, let's shift to the next question, second question, which is of two, which is what are some ways that community members like ourselves can give back? Is that, whether it's through donations, whether it's through volunteer time, donating food, what are some of the options? And we'll start with Colleen.
Yeah, just kind of also want to elaborate on Susan. I know everyone is really feeling this time right now with the cut and the stop and the pause of the SNAP benefits. However, we have been, and this is conversation Susan I've had so many times, we've been seeing a reduction in the food that we have been receiving into our food systems gradually over the past couple of years. So this, so right now we are in a crunch because we are seeing a larger influx, but we have been seeing more people utilizing the food system with less food coming in. For example, at the food bank, 40,000 pounds was what we received every week from Oregon Food Bank. Now we're lucky if we get a 20,000 pound truck. So in one quarter from like January to March, like last year, we were receiving about 470,000 pounds. That's what the food bank received in. The next quarter, we only received 330,000 pounds. So we're already seeing a huge shift in that. And so that has been really, so it's something we've already seen at the food bank, and now it's just really seeing it out in the community, especially with the surge of individuals needing it. But I know Susan and I've had that conversation. It's just, we're not getting the food, and the fresh produce is so important. And sometimes by the time we get the produce from Oregon Food Bank, it's rotten and it goes straight to the hog farms. So it really isn't even something we can send out, which is, it's heartbreaking for us to see that. But if you do want to help, obviously you can donate you go to ucancap.org, and then there's a drop down for donation at the food bank. If you want to host a local food drive does support our allocations. Each pantry, our 15 pantries, get a allocation every month, and the food actually helps buffer that when we don't have a lot in stock. So you can host a food drive, or we do have about 25 food drives going on throughout Douglas County right now. And I can send all that in a link.
Great. I was just going to ask if those were posted on the website or.
I think they're all posted online, but I can send a link.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Colleen. Susan, you want to answer the same question?
Yes. 10 years ago when I started, 11 technically, at the Reedsport Food Pantry with the collective, it was a real difficult conversation I would have with the community about, they would want to bring food in, they would want to go to the store and buy food. And so I had to say, would you give us money? Because we can make it go farther. The cash is king. And it's starting to become the norm across the nation, where people are starting to understand that when there's a disaster, don't bring your size of clothes and all these different clothes that have to be sorted and washed, and then nobody fits them and all that. It's so particular. Cash is the way to go. So donations of any sort. The second best thing that we love seeing coming through the pantry is produce from your gardens. That is the freshest produce. Usually it's organic and delicious and could not be fresher. So when someone says, oh, we have right now it's pears that are coming off the trees and apples that are coming off the trees, they need to be good and in good condition, because we don't have the number one, the time to sort it, or the space or the cost for the trash to discard it if it's not good. So that fresh produce, those zucchini, those baby lettuces. One year we had a Rotary member utilize the local greenhouse at the hardware store that sells plants in the summer and it's not used in the winter, to grow microgreens for the winter for us. So if anyone is a gardener and would like to explore that, that's great. The other way that folks can help is through fundraisers. We don't hold any of our own fundraisers. We are a very small staff, and it takes all of our energy just to run the pantry. But every year we have two gentlemen that golf 100 holes in one day and take pledges and raise money for the pantry. Other folks have done Civil War challenges when the Civil War between the ducks and the beavers were happening. And right now, what's really exciting is our local restaurants have gathered together in the past week to hold an evening of food tasting, and they're calling it Reedsport Rising. And all of the proceeds will come to the Reedsport Food Pantry, and this is to address what's happening in our community with the need. And their goal is to raise 15 to 20,000. And the only thing they have asked from us is our logo. They're doing all that work. So when if you can't give cash, if that's, because many times that's not possible, if you're not a gardener, is there another way that you could take something that you do or that is a passion or a hobby of yours that you enjoy and use that to raise funds? That's fantastic. It gets our name out there, our mission out there, what we need, and just such a great community building that happens within that as well. So those would be the best ways to help your local food pantry, in my opinion.
Well, thanks, Susan. I appreciate the context too of the Reedsport Rising project and how that's working. That's great, as well as fundraisers. Jeannie, what would you like to add around what folks can do to help support senior services?
As I mentioned earlier, helping other people is sometimes some of the best things to do. It can give you a feel and keep people active and engaged, and you're doing something really great. And we are always looking for volunteers to help us in our mission, driving and delivering meals or working in the kitchen. We do a reimbursement for our volunteers, mileage reimbursement. It's the IRS tax amount that can be reimbursed. But some of our needs are, Glendale is in need of a backup driver on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 12:30. It's about 2.5 hours. Reedsport, 2 backup home delivered meal drivers on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. Riddle, there's a need for 1 Meals on Wheels or home delivered meal driver on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sutherland needs 2 home delivered meal drivers to deliver meals on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Winston, 1 dishwasher on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and 1 to 2 substitute drivers. Also a kitchen helper would be useful down there in Winston on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Young Hollow, kitchen helper is needed there Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. and a home delivered meal driver as well in Yoncalla for Tuesdays and Thursdays. So they can call our main number, which is 541 440-3677, and get in touch with our volunteer organizer, and if they'd like to volunteer. The big thing is it doesn't matter if it's an hour or 3 hours, it's whatever you have to give. And so it's flexible on days. If there's only one day a week that you'd like to donate your time to, that's great too. So we're really flexible and understand people have lives outside of what they're doing for us, but it's also a way to give back. I think some of the most heartfelt parts of this is the home delivered meal deliveries, and you see some of the folks that truly appreciate this meal delivered to them with a smile. It can brighten their day. Sometimes some of these folks don't even get to see anybody all day long, all week long. So it is a highlight for them to also receive that home delivered meal, that warm meal. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. I appreciate all the volunteer opportunities. And having been to the congregate dining sites before in the past, it's great opportunity for people to connect with each other and have that socialization time, as well as get a warm cooked meal. So thank you for sharing those opportunities. Great. Susan, Colleen, or Jeannie, do you have anything else? Any last comments you'd like to mention? I see Colleen put together or put in the chat a document, so we'll make sure we pull that and send that out in the post email as well, so that everybody's got that. But any last thoughts or comments that Colleen, Jeannie, or Susan want to share?
I just saw a question in the chat about the gleaning program. I know it was something the food bank was trying to get together probably over 1.5 years ago. It just took volunteers, and we did not have volunteers to do it. So it was very hard to promise that and set that up with someone and then not have enough volunteers come to do it. So it wasn't really something that, I think if we had more staff available, and that would be something that they could focus on, but it would take a lot of work to get the volunteer time. I do not know about the VA greenhouse, but the food bank does receive a ton of food donated produce by the master gardeners in the spring. So that is an amazing time of year. We love it when they come. But yes, we absolutely at the food bank and all the pantries will take stuff from individuals' gardens. And, I think with the wild and unintended fruit trees, yeah, again, it's volunteer time and staff to do that. And hunters, for their meat, if they want to donate it, they could actually take that to a pantry. Because of the food bank, we have specific requirements. So it has to be packaged by a USDA packaging material with the, we need to have nutrition labels on our food. So if you provide us something that does not have a nutrition label on anything that's packaged, we unfortunately can't give it out at the food bank, but a pantry could. So that would be something that if you are a hunter and have excess meat, you can take that to a pantry, but we just can't take it at the food bank, unfortunately. So we do refer them to a pantry if they do call us saying they have that. Yeah, that just kind of wanted to answer those questions because those were really good ones and great ideas. And I think it's that ability to have the manpower and staffing to pull those together.
Great, thanks, Colleen. I'm glad you mentioned about hunters as well, because that's a question that we frequently get about what to do with that. So thank you. Jeannie or Susan, any last thoughts or comments?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be a part of your panel today, and hopefully that we can have more of a reach out in the communities, and for folks to know that we're here. So thank you.
Thank you for being here today. And we will be putting just the 1 to 1:30 recording of this out probably on our YouTube channel, hopefully by next week. So we can get that out, and we'll make sure to share it with this list of folks here, as well as all three of you, Susan, Jeannie, and Colleen. So
Yeah.
thank you again so much
Thank
for your
you.
time, Colleen.
Yeah,
Yes.
just thank
Okay.
you. And just remembering this isn't just a holiday problem, it's a year-round problem. So
Absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that. You're absolutely right. So thank you so much for all that you do for Douglas County, and thank you all for sticking with us for this last half hour. So I think this concludes our webinar. Thank you.